All right. There we go. Welcome to another episode of End Hype. Transform product ideas into business realities. My name is Callie Keen. Let's get into it. So today I have something special. I have a topic that everybody's going to want to get into. My man's going to show us how to pay less taxes and structure our business in a way that makes sense. So all that hard work that you do, all those products that you sell, those services that you sell, you get to keep more of the value that you create for the market, and you pay the right amount in taxes, right? Because we don't want any crazy situations. But a lot of people don't know what they don't know. So this is a question that a lot of people ask me, and I'm totally not qualified to answer it. But Casey, you are, man. So welcome to End Hype.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are? What's the story?
Absolutely. So I'm Casey Chohan, born and raised in England, as you can probably tell from the accent. I moved out to America back in 2012, was working with a huge conglomerate, a big S&P 500 company called Flowserve. Worked my way up to a good standard there. I did 8 years in total with them, 4 in Europe, 4 here. And then I started my own business back in 2016. And initially, we were working with entrepreneurs and business owners to help them scale their businesses to the next level. And then what ended up happening is we had a fantastic result with one of our clients. We went from, they went from earning $5 million a year to 10 million a month within the space of 6 months.
We like stories like that.
Yeah, so we hit a phenomenal home run, and obviously it wasn't just us. We were just one cog of the bigger thing. But once we helped the client get up to 10 million a month, it caused them very different problems. So then the client was, okay, now I'm going to have a huge tax bill that was higher than my revenue that I made last year. Help me figure that out. So then we kind of went into exploration mode, let's call it, because we weren't tax experts at that time. But I knew from my background with this big Fortune 500 company and a lot of high net worth individuals at my friends and family offices specifically, that the rich, powerful elite do not pay taxes in the same way as the ordinary people. So this can be quite clearly demonstrated, the fact that the top 3% of the world in terms of wealth control the rest of the world from a wealth standpoint. So there's a small amount of people, usually elite families or politicians, that just know the system a lot better. The system's rigged, so they write the rules in a way that benefits them. And rules are there for us all to use. It's just that they know how to operate within these systems a lot better than most people. So I kind of went on this voyage and quest of figuring out what it is that the real elite families do in order to pay less taxes legally, because the way the IRS phrases taxation is you pay your fair share. That's the phrase the IRS uses.
Yeah.
And you can determine your fair share because everything in the IRS textbook is to help you pay your fair share, which is less tax. So people don't even realize that as a starting point. And then to every game, there's always levels, whether that's the loophole level that you're playing at, which is using simple things like bonus depreciation or cost segregation or real estate, things like that. Or you can get into more advanced structures within trust worlds that can get people down, like Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos and Warren Buffett and Bill Gates and so on. Then the list just goes on, how these guys can pledge 99% of their wealth and still control all of it. So it boils back down to kind of principles that come from the Rockefeller family. Nelson Rockefeller said that own nothing but control everything is one of kind of the key principles in this ultra high net world wealth.
Wow. Yeah, it's really interesting because as I'm working with clients and we're taking them from, let's say, 6 figures to 7 figures with their product sales. I like something that you said, and I want to touch back to that, is that we get different kinds of problems, right? There's this saying like sales cures all. Well, it cures all of your maybe your current issues, but it reveals all these others and it amplifies a lot of issues that people have. So like fulfillment, logistics, hiring, uh, legal, compliance, and of course, finance issues. You'd think that adding more money to a system would solve your finance problems, but in practicality, it doesn't. It amplifies the issues that you already have. There's just a zero at the end of the problem. So, yeah, I really like this, and this sits kind of in where I'm discussing with people. What they want is they want those next order solutions. So everybody's thinking about problems where they need to talk to KC. I'm like, well, first you got to have the revenue, right? So
Yeah, absolutely.
so we get to a certain point. And I know you say like if you're paying 200K plus in taxes, then you need to start looking at these avenues of and you think like, oh man, that's so much money. Who's paying that taxes? Like pretty much any small business is paying something that approximates that or more. And yeah, so the the savings for a small business is pure profitability. So if you can drive that back, think of the equipment that you could buy or the ad campaign you could buy or the
Free cash flow.
higher free
Yeah.
cash flow. Yeah, it's really, really compelling. And
And especially if you're looking to exit as well, Callie, because now you've just added another 20 or 30% net profit to the bottom line. That increases your multiple if you did want to exit, or if you, like you said, if you want to buy an extra piece of machinery or equipment or take a vacation with a family, whatever that looks like to you, it's not just making more money, but it's the impact of that additional money by just being smarter and more well organized. You're not doing anything different. You're still running your business the same way, but because you're organized in a much more efficient manner, you can see a dramatic increase on the multiple and cash flow.
yeah, that's interesting. So I know that every large business does this to an extreme, but from talking to smaller business owners, they're very apprehensive. They feel like that this is a Wesley Snipes situation, right? Where he's like, hey, you don't have to pay taxes. And it's like, uh, how do you show people that structure and assure them that the tax code is there so you can actually not pay taxes? That's like, right.
All of that's clear in the tax code, so that's a simple one. But generally speaking, it's all about referring back to the actual tax code itself. So a lot of what we do, people have never heard or seen of this type of structure before, and that's all by design, right? Because people who control the masses do not want everyone using the same systems and structures as they're using, because it gives them less control in the long run. And then even when you bake it down to the next level below, when you look at attorneys and you look at CPAs, they're all trained at a federal level. They're all trained at a state level, not a federal level. So they operate within the rules and the parameters of whichever state that they've got their bar exam in or the CPA certificate in. But when you look at the way all of these elite families operate, they all operate at a federal level with a subset of common law principles. And common law is the oldest law of the land here in America, and it was actually brought over by the British when America was initially created. And there's no reason that anyone can't choose to have a common law trust set up. It's just that they often don't have the expertise to go and execute that.
That's really interesting. Is that one of the more common vehicles that you see somebody who's a successful business owner that's something that they would engage you with, is setting that up? Or
it is, but it's normally the elite families that know about this. The common business owner would probably never have heard of a common law trust, and not have they only heard of it, not heard of it, but they don't know what it means and the power of what it actually can do. And neither do their advisors, more importantly. So if the people that are advising you in your business, whether that's your CPA or your legal team, have never heard of it, then it's very difficult for you to execute something that you would have to read in like legal textbooks, or really know someone that is living in this world and that is happy and prepared to show you how to operate within those rules, because the legal rules and the accounting rules are very different in that space compared to the regular 1041 LLC, S Corp, C Corp world.
Right. That's super interesting. You have like a good tip for people to get started? Like what's an easy thing that they could look at and say, hey, I could implement this, and if I'm getting to this next level, that's when I should work with somebody like yourself. What's like a common tip?
The number one thing I would recommend is for people to research IBC policy. And what that is it's called the infinite banking concept. And there's a book by a guy called Nelson Nash, Becoming Your Own Banker. That is a super easy place to start. Just by read the book, understand the power of owning your own bank and effectively making money for yourself from this banking system that can be done at all levels of wealth. You don't have to be a mega millionaire for that to make sense for you to do.
Interesting. Yeah, my friend gave me a book on being your own bank using overfunded insurance and a couple other means. Right.
It's probably the exact same thing as what I just described.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. So that kind of started me down this journey, and I'm like, definitely something that I'm looking into personally. And then on the business side, I'm always looking at, like, of course, since we're in manufacturing, we have equipment, right? Lots of write-off on equipment, R&D, working on creating and tracking R&D and what the best practices for that are. And there's just simple things that people don't get. And talking to small business owners, there's almost like a sentiment like that they should be paying, like that they should just be paying the taxes, and they don't understand, like, they're paying the most taxes, and companies that are 10 times their size probably pay the same amount in actual money that they do, because they don't do simple things like, you're going to choose between a van for your business. Well, there's a reason why one's 6,000 pounds and the other one's not, because one gets classified as a work truck and you can deduct it in a different way. And it's like, that's why the Sprinter is the way that it is, right? That's why people kid them out, because there's a specific portion of the tax code in America that says, like, now it is a work vehicle versus you just buying a car.
Yeah, it's a really good point that you made there. People are kind of brainwashed into thinking that they have to pay over the odds on taxes because they're not educated in that. There's not many classes in school that teach you how to optimize your taxes. They don't teach you that at an MBA. Your CPA often is not even working for you. He or she is working for the IRS because their only interest is to make sure that you file and pay on time, not that you optimize your business. It's completely kind of miscued in a lot of business owners' heads that their CPA is actually there to help them optimize their company. That's not true. That's why you need a CFO or some form of business consultant to come in and really review those things for you, because the CPA's job is to make sure you file and pay your taxes. So they work for the IRS. They don't work for you.
Yeah, I find that this is something is absolutely true. I 100% agree with you. Is that you pay a CPA to make sure that your paperwork is right so the IRS gets paid. And they're just going to do it in the most clean, safe, simple way possible that is not to your advantage, because their license is on the line, one thing. And that's not really, like, they don't really run a business. Like, they're a service business, they're services company. Like, they they don't put capital at risk, right? So you're asking them to do something that's like not the way that their brain is wired, really, from school. And again, a lot of these CPAs will have business degrees, they'll have MBAs, and this isn't really something that's specifically taught in business school.
Yeah, it's definitely not, and it's by design, right? So again, it comes back to control and the wealthy wanting to stay in power and not have everyone use the same systems that they use in themselves.
Interesting. And you have a good cross section of speaking to people, because on your show you interview CEOs and their come up stories and their ups and downs and all that stuff. So can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I think that this perfectly well.
Yeah, so I have my own podcast, which is called the CEO Story Podcast, where exactly what you said, we interview successful entrepreneurs, usually 7, 8, 9-figure entrepreneurs that have had some great upsides and some bad downsides, and have got a really compelling story to share along the way. And none of these guys are taught taxes. You know, it's one of the things that we do talk about on the show is, did anyone teach you business, taxes, or kind of how did you navigate through all of that? And it's often through relationships, through mentors and network that they've managed to get their business to scale and taxes to be optimized. Not so much from their CPAs, not so much from their legal firms that are not really working for them.
Yeah, I definitely resonate with that story. And it was interesting talking to you on the podcast, because you would think that you're paying this person and that they're going to come in, that they're a badass and they're going to chop it up. They're going to look at your P&L. They're going to look at how you're breaking things down. They're going to look at your processes. They're not going to do any of that stuff. They're just going to look at a report and say, this is a safe number to pay.
Yeah. And one of the clauses that they'll likely have in their engagement letter is that we are not auditing your books. We are just taking them at face value, so that they literally get themselves off the hook from the off.
Right.
So yeah, you've got to really be cognizant of the fact that they are working for the IRS, which is fine. All that means is you need to have a better team around you that can fill those gaps, because that's not going to be filled by the CPA. So what does that really mean? That means you need a better either in-house or part-time CFO or a team of consultants or coaches around you that can be those sets of eyes and be able to help optimize the business, both from the financial side, from the operational side, sales and marketing side. So if you've got leaders in all of those areas of your business, it'll definitely be going in the right direction.
Nice. Initially, when people are launching and growing, they're at least in my world, they're ultra focused on the product, and then they are increasingly more focused on operations, because that's the next bottleneck. But I think that at a very reasonable and a lower threshold than people would assume, they switch over to finance and optimization. So like, your operations are reasonable, things are shipping, people are reasonably happy, but then moving over into finance and like, that's why, at least working with startups, why they mess this up so commonly is that it becomes an afterthought. And then they're like, yes, I need a CFO.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's a great word to use, because it is often an afterthought. When you think of the entrepreneur who starts the business, very gung-ho, shooting from the hip, kind of have a product selling or a service that they're selling, and then they scale it, and then everything from that point on is an afterthought. Like, okay, let's get some sales, let's get some marketing, let's get some operations, and then finance is definitely at the bottom of that pile. But it's very important to make sure that you are reviewing your numbers and you know where the cash flow of the business is, because that's the number one killer of businesses, is cash flow rather than profitability. A lot of profitable businesses can operate at a loss for a number of years if they have the cash flow to support it. Uber being a prime example of that. has operated at a loss for numbers of months. Same with Tesla before they changed and they hit some profits. So profits isn't the kind of key factor. It's the cash flow and the run rate that you need to really keep an eye on and track. Make sure that burn rate isn't too high and that you do have funds coming in to know exactly where you are from a numbers perspective.
That's awesome. Absolutely. What's a great lesson that you've learned from speaking to all these people on your show?
Have key mentors. So I think one of the fundamental things across every single business owner that I've interviewed, which is over 60 of them now, all amazing people in their own industries, they have all had mentors in some way, shape, or form. And various mentors, not just one mentor, but numerous mentors in different avenues of business, of life, to help them navigate through. And I think that's key for success, and especially fast tracking success, is to have good mentors around you that have been there and done that, and they can guide you in the right way.
It's fantastic. Yeah, I don't think there's really shortcuts in life, but knowing the right thing to do and having the right person that can make connections for you, it's not really a shortcut. It's just the correct way to do it, right? So like there's no shortcuts like, hey, I'm just going to not do this thing that I'm supposed to do. But with a mentor and a good circle, circle of, you can call it a mastermind or whatever that you want. If your little support group, whatever it is, like I advocate that everybody go out. And if you're doing something and you can do it by yourself, you probably could have done it faster if you had a mentor. If you're trying to do something very technical and you're trying to figure it out, time is our number one resource. It's the number one limited resource as an entrepreneur. Right?
Absolutely.
People think that it's money and they think that it's funding. And then I show them, like, here's how you can get loans. Here's how you can get investment. Here's how you can get financing. Here's how you can do PO refactoring. Here's all these different ways of getting money. And then they realize that yeah, profitability is probably is maybe a little bit harder than just getting funding. But like the money aspect, like if you want to do a marketing campaign, you could work on it for a year and figure it out and be a reasonably good digital marketer. Or you could hire somebody who already is, and you can have them in your pocket and you could use them over and over and over again. And if you really want to learn, you can watch what they do. And then you can say, hey, we'll rely on you for a future campaign, but we're going to do a lot of this in-house, because you can just learn so much faster, right? You could hire somebody for $10,000 and save yourself the $200,000 of your own time that it would spend. You'd be, say, dinking around, just goofballing. Like,
Yep. Totally agree with what you said. Time is the biggest commodity in the world. We all have 24 hours in the day, regardless of if you're Elon Musk or if you're an entrepreneur. You have to spend that 24 hours. We're all equal when it comes to time. It's just how you use it and what you do in it that differentiates you from the rest of the people.
Yeah, it's like, I know people are paying a lot of money for courses and programs, which can deliver lots of information, but if it's not the thing that you're intend on doing, it's like if you go out and you buy a Udemy course, let's just say it's $19, really cheap, super authoritative, it's the best in the world. If that takes you 6 months to implement what's in that course, it's the most expensive course on the planet. It probably costs $1 million to you, right? So I just see this same error repeated over and over again, and I'm like, go get a mentor. They'll tell you to quit fooling around, or go get a coach for that specific thing and learn it in 4 weeks instead of 4 months. Right?
And that's a great point, because a mentor or a coach, they're going to hold you accountable. And a lot of the times that's what a lot of people need to take action and to move to that next milestone, is someone to really say, hey, these are the milestones that we need to hit in the time frame we need to hit them. Can you do it, or are you just fooling around?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And I know that there's a lot of negativism around coaching right now, but because there's so many people that have entered the market, but it's just like anything else. It's just like digital marketing or copywriting or any of these other things. Go look at what somebody's done. They've done amazing things. You want to be associated with them. I find, me personally, from hiring coaches and consultants and working with mentors, that it is, for me, the fastest way to get something done, or the fastest way to learn something, is just to learn it from somebody who already knows what they're doing, versus like,
Yeah. I'm the first one to open up my checkbook and pay someone to fast track my learning, because I just value my time more than that. Like, if someone's an expert at what they do and I need to know that, it's like, I don't need to know everything. I want to have a basic level of understanding just from my own curiosity standpoint. But I do not need to get in the weeds if I trust the person executing it for me.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You say conversationally competent, right? I can hold a conversation about it, but somebody else is going to do the work. So I better hire them as fast as possible.
Absolutely.
Well, Casey, you have any last thoughts or a hot tip for us before we wrap this thing up?
Yeah, I do. On the business optimization side, we talked a lot about mentors and steps. So find an ideal list of mentors that can guide you, both business, personal, whatever you're looking for in life, in that direction. Make the list, research them, find out what they do, what their passions are. You will often find that these people have a big charitable component to their lives. Align with that. Show them value that you can add to them, and then make the ask. Don't just go up and ask blatantly, hey, can you mentor me? It's not probably the most successful strategy. It's kind of align with their core beliefs or a charitable purpose that they're doing. Show them that you've taken the time to research them and that you can add value in different ways, and really build deep relationships. And that's what's going to help you progress further. On the tax side, I would say research, do some reading, figure out that there are simple ways to save money on taxes. You could do a Google search on loopholes, as an example. You could get 20 different loopholes that are all perfectly legal right now, and just ask your CPA. Send your CPA an email saying, hey, are we utilizing all of these right now? And if not, tell me why not. So you're holding them accountable for them to know that stuff. And then if you are at a higher level where you need a more advanced structure, then do the research on common law principles within trusts, and you'll see there's a lot of benefits to be had at that level.
It's amazing. That's amazing. And yeah, and seriously, that last point, people need to start researching. You'll be astonished at what other people do versus what normal people do. What your average person does and what a wealthy person does is far, far different. So, Casey, I really appreciate the time that you spent with us. I have one little call to action here at the end, and it's for the audience, is that, look, if you have a question that, if answered, will take you to the next level, DM me, message me, and I will reach out to my network and I'll bring on an expert like Casey to answer that question. Right. So if you want to know about taxes, great. I brought somebody on, right? If you want to know about fulfillment, you want to know about some odd marketing strategy, you want to hear from Casey again, I don't care. DM me and I'll bring an expert on to answer your question. So that's my only ask. And check Casey out. Where's a great place for people to follow you?
To start the website, togethercfo.com. You could go on any social media platform. We're on all of them. You can just type in Together CFO. Or if you want to follow me personally, just be KC Chohan, and it should all pop up there for you.
Okay, wonderful. Hey, appreciate you. Thank you again. And this has been End Hype.
All right, no problem. Thanks for having me on, Callie. Take care.